Welcome back to another episode here with Mofado. In this video, I want to talk about how to fund your startup home care business in 2023. Now, the first thing I want to talk about here is the concept of zombie companies. I don't know if you've heard in the news companies like Facebook, companies like BuzzFeed, Complex, LinkedIn, and a bunch of other tech companies that are doing mass layoffs. They've been doing mass layoffs consistently now for the last, I would say, 6 months. So every month you'll hear about LinkedIn laid off 10,000 people, Facebook laid off 5,000 people. And they're doing this gradually over and over. If you're in the medical industry right now, obviously you might not know what I'm talking about, but this is really happening and this is real. And these are companies that are worth billions of dollars. They're listed on the stock exchange. And over the last couple of years, a company like Facebook or Meta has been worth almost $1 trillion. Now it's worth a fraction what it used to be worth about only 2 years ago. It's worth a fraction of what it used to be worth only a few years ago. Like I said, if you're in the medical industry, you're very lucky. If you're an RN, if you're a CNA, you're very lucky because you are in a recession-proof industry. Everybody needs healthcare, but not everybody's gonna be using Facebook. You know what I'm saying? Like a company like Facebook is really like a luxury. A lot of these tech companies have lost a lot of money because they have been labeled zombie companies. So let me explain to you what a zombie company is all about. A zombie company is basically a company that's been hyped up for so long, it's been gassed up for so long by a lot of investors because everybody's talking about it in the news. So everybody buys their stock and then their stock gets inflated. And I know I'm getting a little technical here, but I'm going to get to the point, I promise. So their stock gets hyped up. If their stock gets hyped up, it means that Facebook will continue to get valued at billions of dollars and people will continue to pour money into it. So all these investors will continue to pour money into it because they believe in the vision that Mark Zuckerberg, who's the leader over at Facebook, has to say. So they believe in his vision, so they'll continue to pump money in there. When a company gets too much money, they end up making dumb decisions. And some of these dumb decisions can be things like hiring too many people. They end up making dumb decisions like, I don't know if you've heard of this, but Facebook, if you work for Facebook, you'll get like free lunch, you get free laundry services, and all these extra perks that don't contribute to the profit margins of Facebook. For example, how is putting a dog park at the workplace going to improve the profits for Facebook? It doesn't. Instead, what it does is it attracts employees that want to get paid a lot of money. So that's what Facebook was doing. They would put all these perks in place and say, hey, you can come work at Facebook, we'll give you free lunch, give you free dinner, you can do laundry, you can bring your pets here, you can get massages during lunch breaks. So people were running over to companies like Facebook to go and work there and making hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I remember reading an article that says the average software engineer at Facebook was making about $250,000 a year, right? That's crazy money. So they were tracking all these people that were not producing. They were just workers filling in gaps because Facebook had so much money because people were pouring money in there. So what happens when the economy starts to slow down? Let me tell you what happens when the economy starts to slow down, like it is right now. If you go to your grocery store, you'll notice inflation is kicking everybody in the butt. The prices of groceries have gone up. The price of gas has gone up, all because of inflation. So when inflation happens, it's as a result of the government, the Federal Reserve, hiking up the interest rates. If the Fed hikes up the interest rates, it means that it becomes more expensive to borrow money. So a lot of these investors that were pouring money into companies like Facebook were borrowing a lot of money and using that money to invest into companies like Facebook. So if it becomes more expensive to borrow money, it means that they're investing less money into Facebook. That means Facebook has less money to pay people. They have less money to pay for all these weird perks that they had. It's just logical math and basic economics. A lot of the times when people are starting up their own business, they also think that they need a lot of money to solve their problems. What I'm trying to tell you is that pouring more money into a business that is not profitable is not going to solve the problem. While you might think that you need to borrow thousands of dollars, maybe $100,000 to start up the home care business that you've always wanted to start, what I'm telling you is you don't need to do that, because money is expensive to borrow right now. So if you borrow $100,000 today, you're probably going to borrow it at like 5-10% interest rate. That's not in your best interest. And what happens if, let's say, that business takes about 3 years to be profitable? That means you have to pay back that loan for at least 2 years, or at least 2.5 years, before you start making a profit. So it is not in your best interest to borrow that kind of money up front to start a business in 2023. It's not in your best interest. A few years back, I read a book called The $100 Startup. It's a pretty old book. It's a pretty old read. And I'll put the picture of the book somewhere up here, but you need to read it. The problem with a lot of you guys, you don't read. You have to be a student. You always have to be learning. You always have to be reading. So The $100 Startup is a pretty old book, like I said, but the concept is relevant today in 2023. It still applies today. You need to figure out how to do more with less now in 2023. There's so much technology out there. If you're familiar with artificial intelligence allows for you to do a whole lot more with so much less. So for example, if it costs you $1,000 to build a website 2-3 years ago, you can build a website now for like $50. So the price just went down from like $1,000 to maybe $100 or even $50. Because of what? Because of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is allowing for things to be more efficient and cost effective now. So while you might think you need to borrow $100,000, then maybe spend $1,000 of that $100,000 into building a website, you don't need to do that anymore because of technology that's coming up. There are concepts now that you can deploy. If you don't have a lot of money, you can deploy what we call bootstrapping. Bootstrapping is basically, how do you make the little money that you have, the little savings that you have, how do you make those little savings stretch? It might mean making tough decisions, like you might have to cut back on that fancy luxury vacation that you've always wanted to take. Maybe you've always wanted to go to Jamaica. Maybe you cut back on that vacation and say, you know what? I know it's going to cost me $2,000, $2,500 to go to Jamaica this year. Let me hold on to that $2,500. Let me invest that $2,500 into my business. And you might discover that $2,500 with a little bit of elbow grease, a little bit of hard work, can get you so much further than $100,000 borrowed from a bank or a loan shark. Because eventually you're going to have to pay back that $100,000, and it's painful to pay back that $100,000. If anything, find ways to maybe drive Uber. Maybe you might drive Uber for 1 month, go all in driving Uber and DoorDash for 1 month, save $1,500. Then you slow down a little bit. Then you invest that $1,500 that you made off of driving Uber. It's way better doing that, rinse and repeat over 6 months, than borrowing $100,000, in my opinion. Lastly, you need to understand that there are ways that you can get clients using Google advertising. So what I urge you to do is go to YouTube, look up what Google advertising is all about. There are a bunch of free YouTube videos. Like, you can dedicate a whole Saturday to watching a bunch of YouTube videos that talk about what Google advertising is all about. And guess what? Right now in your area, there are rich people, there are affluent clients in your town, in your city, that are searching for the services that you have to offer. And you need to be able to show up in those search results when they search for those services. We can help with that. We've created this course that allows for you to learn how to do it, and we'll also do it for you. We already know the keywords. We know what keywords people are searching for in your city, in your town. And check out the link below. In the description below, I've put the link to our course for you to preview. If you still have any questions about how to get clients, schedule some time. I've also put a link to my calendar. Ask me any questions about Google advertising, and I'll show you the way. I hope you got some value from this video, and I'll see you in the next one.